Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurazika Akila binti Amiruddin and my metric number is 15 DPR24F1063. I will begin our presentation by briefly introducing the company that our group selected, which is Sime Berhad. Sime Berhad is one of the largest multinational conglomerates in Malaysia. The company operates in several major industries, including the plantation sector, industrial equipment distribution, and the automotive industry. Through these sectors, Sime plays an important role in supporting economic and business activities in Malaysia. In addition, Sime is listed on Bursa Malaysia, which is the Malaysian Stock Exchange. As a public listed company, Sime must follow strict corporate governance standards, transparency, and accountability in its business operations. In terms of background, Sime Berhad was established in 1910 and has more than a century of business history. Over the years, the company has grown from a small trading company into a large multinational corporation. Today, the company's headquarters are located in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and its operations extend across several countries, especially in the Asia-Pacific region. The company's key operations include plantation management, particularly in palm oil production, the distribution of heavy machinery and the industrial equipment used in construction and infrastructure projects, as well as automotive businesses that involve vehicle distribution and related service. Because Sime operates on a large scale and manages many international projects, strong corporate governance and ethical decision-making are very important to ensure transparency to protect the interests of stakeholders such as employees, customers, and shareholders. However, despite being a large reputable company with a strong history of operation, Sime also has faced several ethical challenges, and one of the major issues involve a conflict of interest related to management decisions in certain large projects. Therefore, I will now pass the presentation to my friend Zadil, who will explain the specific conflict of interest that occurred within the Sime Group.
Next, I will explain a specific conflict of interest that happened in Sime Group. First, the issue involved several large engineering and energy projects that were approved by the company. However, many of these projects later result in major financial loss. Because of this situation, people started to question the company's corporate governance and transparency in their decision-making process. Next, what was the conflict? Some projects were approved without proper risk evaluation. In other words, the project were accepted even though the financial risks were quite high. This raised concern that the decision may not have been made purely based on the company's best interest. Therefore, it created a potential conflict of interest during the approval process. Now, who was involved in this situation? The main people involved were senior management of Sime Group, including top executives who were responsible for approving engineering and energy projects. Other individuals involved in project management and decision-making were also part of the process. Lastly, how did personal or external interests influence decision? In some cases, certain decisions appeared to favor particular contractors or projects. Some projects were still approved even though there were clear financial risks. This suggests that personal interest or pressure to achieve profit may have influenced the decision-making process. In conclusion, this case highlights the importance of strong corporate governance, transparency, and proper risk evaluation to prevent conflict of interest in large organizations. This situation creates a conflict between personal interest and the company best interest. To better understand the seriousness of this issue, my next group member will explain the impact of this conflict to the company and its stakeholders.
Now, I will explain the impact of conflict of interest in Sime Berhad on the company and its stakeholder. First, the impact on the company is reputation damage. When a conflict of interest happens, the public may think that the company is not transparent or ethical in making decisions. This can reduce public trust and damage the company image in the long term. Second, it can cause financial loss. If management decisions are influenced by personal interest instead of the company interest, it may lead to poor investment or unfair business deal. As a result, the company may lose money or business opportunities. Another impact is operational problem. Conflict of interest can create internal disagreement and affect the effectiveness of management. This can slow down decision making and disrupt the company daily operation. Next, the conflict of interest also affects stakeholders. For example, employee may feel that the workplace is unfair if certain individuals receive special treatment. This can lower employee motivation and trust in management. Customers may also lose confidence in the company if they believe the company is not operating ethically. This could reduce customer loyalty and affect sales. For shareholders, conflict of interest may reduce company profit and affect the value of their share. Shareholders expect the company to make decisions that benefit the business, not personal interest. Finally, serious cases of conflict of interest may lead to legal investigation by authorities. This can further damage the company reputation and result in penalty or legal consequences. Therefore, it is very important for a company like Sime Berhad to manage conflict of interest properly to protect the company and all its stakeholders. Next, my teammate Muhammad Shawal will now discuss how Sime responded to this issue and the action taken to manage the situation.
I will be explaining how the company managed the conflict of interest issue. After the conflict was exposed, the company took the three main actions. First, internal investigation. They formed a special task force and involved in external auditor to ensure the transparency. All individuals involved were identified and interviewed. Second, disciplinary action. Guilty employees were suspended or terminated. Senior management was also held accountable for failing to supervise properly. Third, strengthening internal control. They tightened approval processes of the transaction, introduced a whistleblower policy, and upgrade the internal audit system. Effectiveness of action. So, with this action successful, yes, the misconduct was stopped, stakeholder confidence was restored, and the company avoided heavy legal penalties. However, the company could have handled it better. This response was slow, communication with stakeholders lacked transparency, and the prevention should have become first, not after the crisis. In conclusion, the company managed the issue effectively in the short term, but the long-term success required faster response and stronger preventive measures. Although the company took steps to address the issue, improvements were still necessary. Finally, my last group member will explain how the similar conflict can be prevented and summarize the key reasons for this case.
Lastly, I will explain about the prevention and conclusion of this case. First, conflict of interest can be prevented if companies implement strong corporate governance policies. This means the company must have clear rules and guidelines to ensure that all employees and managers make decisions that benefit the company, not only their personal interest. With proper governance policies, the company can control the decision-making processes and reduce the risk of unethical actions within the organizations. Second, organizations should enforce a strong code of ethics so that employees and managers must act with integrity, honesty, and professionalism when handling company resources and making important decisions. A strong ethical culture can guide employees to always consider what is right for the company rather than focusing on personal gain. So this will help create a more responsible and trustworthy working environment. Another important step is transparency and accountability. Companies should practice transparent decision-making and conduct regular audit to ensure that all business activities are done ethically and responsibly. Transparency allows stakeholders to clearly see how decisions are made, while accountability ensures that individuals are responsible for their actions. These practices can help detect and prevent conflicts of interest before they become serious problems. For example, some Darby companies can require employees to describe any personal relationship or financial interests that may influence their decisions. By doing this, the company can identify the potential conflicts early and take an appropriate actions to manage the situation. In conclusion, conflict of interest can seriously affect a company's reputation, financial performance, and stakeholder trust. If not handled properly, it can damage the company's credibility and create negative impact on its long-term growth. Therefore, it is very important for companies to maintain ethical behavior, transparency, and strong governance in order to protect their long-term success and sustainability. That's all from us. Thank you.